I would like to call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. and welcome for the audience here today. The City of Glendora utilizes a hybrid meeting format to allow for participation both in person and virtually. In consideration of others and the business conducted tonight, please silence your phones and any electronic devices and refrain from speaking unless recognized. Again, this is a public meeting for the community of Glendora. We appreciate and respect your participation here this evening. Could I request a oral roll call?
Thank you, President. Trustee Chu? Present. Trustee Flowers?
Present.
Trustee Tolan?
Present.
Vice President Johnson?
Present.
President Landman?
Present.
Let the record show all trustees are here.
Okay. For the Pledge of Allegiance, could Aaron Au please lead us in saying the pledge? Thanks, Aaron.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Aaron. You did a great job. Okay. All right. I would like to reorder. Let's see. I would like to move item 4 and to have it moved prior to item 3 and both items prior to public comment, please.
Is there any objection? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and do that.
Okay, for special item 4, this is a presentation of awards for the Library Discovery Challenge Badge Design Contest. Could I invite Library Services Manager Cindy Romero to make the presentation?
Good evening. I'm actually going to have Library Technician Ashley Miller come up and start with our presentation. Good evening. I'm Ashley Miller, and tonight I have the honor of announcing the winners of the 2024 Discovery Challenge Badge Design Contest. This competition allowed students from transitional kindergarten to middle school to unleash their creativity by designing activity badges for our upcoming Summer Discovery Challenge. These badges could range from cooking your favorite dish to having a family picnic in the park or going on a nature walk. This year, we received 21 entries, and out of those, 6 outstanding designs were selected as this year's winners. Without further delay, let's meet the winners. Next slide. In our transitional kindergarten to 2nd grade, we have Genevieve Baker, and the name of her badge is called Sparkle. And to earn this badge, one must read a fantasy story and make their own background noises. Next, we have Jacob Stevenus. And his badge is called Hopscotch Challenge. And with this one must play hopscotch with friends and family. In our second category, 3rd to 5th grade, we have Samantha Beld. The name of her badge is called the Donation Badge. And to earn this badge, one must donate something they don't need. These items can be anything from clothing to toys. Next, we have Gabriel Wills. And his badge is called the Story Writing Badge. And for his badge, one must write a short story at least 1 page or more. Finally, in our last category from 6th to 8th grade, we have Sarah Au. And the name of her badge is called Time for an Apple. And to earn her badge, one must stay healthy and have an apple. Lastly, we have Mackenzie, but unfortunately, she is not here tonight. So her sister, Kaya Quach, will be accepting her award this evening. And her badge is called the Baking Badge. And to earn this badge, one must bake a very tasty pastry. And as always, the Discovery Challenge Badge Design Contest is made possible by the Glendora Public Library, GPL Friends Foundation, and donors like you. Congratulations to our participants. Let's give them another round of applause.
Sorry, I would like to invite you to come on up to get a group photo with us. Please, congratulations, everybody. Parents, you're all welcome to come take pictures. Thank you. Guys, please, Kaya, move forward. Yeah. Kaya, move forward just a little bit. There you go. You should, Ashley's going up there? All right. All right. Cheese. Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everybody. For the next item, it will be special item number 3, recognition of youth library volunteers who are graduating. And I would like to invite Maggie Laura and Trisha Gomer from the Glendora Friends Foundation to introduce the scholarship recipients.
Good evening. Okay. So my name is Cindy Romero. I'm the Library Services Manager. Tonight we're here to recognize the graduating high school seniors who have been volunteering with us at the library during their 4 years of high school. Can we go to the next slide, please? So the criteria for recognition include their grade level. These are all graduating seniors. The time period of service. The Board of Library Trustees several years ago did approve these recognitions. And as part of that, the criteria included that the students volunteered for their entire high school career. We did make a small adjustment to that during COVID when it was any of the years that service was available, understanding that the library building was closed for several years, and the number of hours that were volunteered during that high school time. So we can go to the next slide. And now we will just have a few words from a few people. So actually we have our mayor, Mendel Thompson.
No, Mendel, we'll follow you. You're a hard act to follow, but we will follow.
Sorry, Mendel, I didn't see you back there. It was so crowded.
Well, I'm
Thank you.
small and hard to see at times, so. The city just wants to say thank you. This is an amazing time for these students because it enriches not only the lives of each of us, but it will enrich you for years to come. To have a volunteer spirit is something that is really a special thing. And it's not that you have the time, but it's you have the heart. And we thank you for having that heart to give of your life and your experiences to enrich the lives of others. So the city wants to say thank you, and we appreciate you. So thank you.
And now we have Maggie Laura and Trisha Gomer from the GPL Friends Foundation.
Thank you. You know, the real stars of the evening are the volunteers, and the Friends Foundation joyfully gives in support of the scholarships every year. We recognize that our youngest leaders are our future leaders, and so we really want to support an investment in their future, and really just thank you for the difference that you make. You know, you can spend your time in any places that you'd like, but you chose the library, and we want to support that and your commitment to the community at large. And so this year we've donated the money, and in the spirit of our beloved volunteer himself, Tom Hill, who passed away last year and who really embodied the true spirit of volunteerism. And so we're inviting his wife, Cheryl Hill, to come and say a few words to the students and in honor of Tom.
Hi there. I'm Cheryl Hill, and I know Tom is smiling, and we are both honored that the foundation is giving these scholarships in Tom's name. Tom was on the foundation board for many years before he passed away last summer. The foundation was very important to him, but so was higher education. He taught speech and he taught theater at various times in various places, but he was a college administrator at both Citrus College and Santa Ana College. Please know that all of your hours and years of volunteering at the library is much appreciated. It's a symbol of your character. And I hope that as you go through your educational and career goals, you will continue to make time and take time to volunteer in your various communities. It's very rewarding, as you already know, I'm sure. Before I leave, I want to leave you graduates with 2 bits of advice. One is, don't ever become complacent, and always, always remain curious. Congratulations.
And then if there's anybody from the library board, the Board of Library Trustees that would like to say anything.
Just volunteers, thank you so much. That's I totally understand how time consuming it is, and sometimes how you may have to pass up on fun activities or some other event. But thank you for your time with the library, and we truly appreciate your hard work.
And without further ado, Mrs. Hill, I think Maggie and Trisha want you with them.
And
Yes.
and also Cheryl Hill, that was an amazing speech. Thank you. Very kind.
And now, Gabby, our first honoree is Sophia Gallegos, who has volunteered over 100 hours, and she is graduating from Glendora High School next week. Sophia? And up next, we have Jonathan Villegas, who is also graduating from Glendora High School and has donated over 175 hours to the community through the library. Jonathan? And Rebecca Munoz, also graduating from Glendora High School, has donated over 250 hours to the community through the library. Rebecca.
That
I think
was,
we need to rearrange
that was
the
very
chairs.
impressive, the amount of hours. Trustee Flowers would like to say something as well. Sorry.
I did. Thank you, Madam Chair. To the graduates and to the graduates' families, I want to extend our congratulations and our appreciation. Glendora is a pride of the foothill because of many institutions, but particularly because of the folks who make up our community. And up here we see a sampling of the youth represented, all of their accomplishments, all the ways that they want to contribute to our community. And we're the pride of the foothills because of folks like you. And if I may give a bit of advice as well, keep moving forward. A moving target is hard to hit. Congratulations.
Can we say musical chairs again? You guys are all up there for the picture. Yeah. Yeah, don't think you're sitting. No. Yeah. Yeah, you do that. Yeah, I think we need. Do we need to bring it in? No, leave the kids. Yeah, because Mendel fits behind me. Yeah, that's perfect.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Excellent.
They've all been around a little bit. Congratulations. I promise.
Can I take a picture of this everybody together?
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, Trustee Chu would like to add something else as well.
Also, I would also like to add on top of thank you for volunteering is that you should also come back to the library. Don't just because you're graduating doesn't mean you don't have to come back and say hi. There's also still volunteer opportunities for you guys to give back your time post high school. So thank you.
Thank you. I would like to open public comment period. I would like to invite members of the public to address the legislative body. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, speaking once on both on and off agenda items. If you are in attendance, please fill out a speaker card and submit it to the recording admin before the close of public comment period. Once recognized, speakers should advance to the podium, state your name and the subject matter you wish to discuss. If you are participating via Zoom, select the raise hand icon in Zoom before the close of the public comment period. Once recognized, you will be unmuted, state your name and the subject matter you would like to discuss. So, do we have any public comment period or public comment cards? Sorry.
We do not have any in person. However, on Zoom, we have 2.
Okay. So,
I'm going to ask Joe to please unmute yourself.
Good evening. My name is Joe Kunzler, and I would like to speak about getting some additions to the library, like some more books. Is that all right?
Go
I'm gonna
ahead, Joe.
assume so, since my timer is running. Um, so I'm a relatively new resident in Glendora. I've only been here for about 4 years now, and I wasn't too sure how long I was going to stay simply because I have to move a lot for work. So public libraries, I've been to plenty. I have been to plenty. I've been all over the country. And that's one of my favorite things when I move into a new city, is getting my library card, going into the library, and checking out just what the local books are that are available, whether it's in a large metropolis like Los Angeles or a smaller area like Sand Creek Point. There's always just something so homey about libraries across this nation. They're all very welcoming, and it's very interesting and says a lot about a community, about the unique books that they do stock. Now, books, unfortunately, for some people have been falling the wayside, but not for myself and other avid readers. And I'm a very big reader in history and political discourse. And there's an alarming trend that I've noticed in the libraries across the nation. I can openly go into every single library I've been into, and I've been into over 473 libraries as of my last tally with my travels. And every single one of those libraries has available to the public the Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx. And about 36% of those libraries also have a copy of Das Kapital, again by Karl Marx. But not one, not a single one of those libraries has a copy of Mein Kampf available on the shelf. Without going, some of the libraries I've been to, less than 10%, have a special section in the back for books that are considered restricted or banned. Now, not to promote Nazism in any way, shape, or form, I just find it very one sided that we're going to promote communism, but we're not going to promote or showcase or have available the other side of the issue. Why is it not being made available to the public? I mean, you have two sides to every situation. I can find books that are pro Vietnam War. I can find books that are anti Vietnam War. I can find books relating to the 80s and 90s about the situation in Iraq, for going to war, against going to war. Why don't we have a copy of Mein Kampf available for people to read, but you can go ahead and read the Communist Manifesto, which itself calls for class warfare and calls for mass deaths and exterminations, whereas Mein Kampf is just one gentleman's personal experience with how he came to the situation he was at in his life. So I would just like to advocate for more banned books being put on the shelves because information should not be banned. There is no literature on earth that should not be made available to the public for no particular reason other than a love of knowledge. And, after reading Mein Kampf plenty of times, I just come to the conclusion that Hitler's a really cool guy. He's pretty great. You know, it'd be great if we had him back today again. We need another Hitler. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Joe. Is there a second public speaker?
Albert Jr.
Great. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I wanted to speak on not on the agenda. Growing up, I used to go to the library a lot, but many times I couldn't find the books that I wanted to read. I would go and ask the librarian if they had certain books, and many times they were just unavailable. One of the books that intrigued me as a child was The Turner Diaries, written by William Luther Pierce. It's a great book. It tells the story of future America that is becoming the reality we live in now. Think about that. A book written in the 70s gave us a glimpse of today's reality. William Pierce was a great writer. He also wrote a novel called Hunter. I encourage you to go check it out and give it a read. I also question, why is it that books on transgenderism are in public libraries? Why do children need to be exposed to mental illness? Thank you, and you can go to gtvflyers.com for some great reading. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other speakers?
Charla, if you could please unmute yourself.
Hi, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Phenomenal. My name is Charla Nash. I've been calling to a few different libraries in our area. I find that there's an issue with the cataloging system, and I would really like it if we could do something to organize this just a little bit better. I find that a lot of Holocaust books are being in the nonfiction section, and I find that crazy because it didn't happen. So it should be in the fiction section. And I find that when we categorize, especially in the library, a place where you should find information, when we are putting it in the wrong section, what we're really doing is brainwashing our children into believing that such craziness is true. Now I understand that the time period happened, but historical fiction is still fiction. So yes, Hitler was a person, but I find that when we say that he killed 6 million Jews, and it's been proven time and time again by wonderful people like Fred Leuchter. You also have the Red Cross during the time period. They went into these the death camps, and they were able to prove that many people didn't die. And I think that one thing we could do to stop the further brainwashing of our children is really to just move those books. It's really easy, really simple. Put them in the fiction section so that future generations can think for themselves, read what is clearly not an actual factual event, and understand that the Holocaust is being weaponized against white people. So thank you for letting me speak today.
Thank
We have
you.
no more Zoom.
Thank you. Thank you all for your comments. Okay, I would like to close public comment period. Does anybody have any reports or statements? Okay. Trustee Flowers?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I get into my report of my activities, I want to thank you very much for reordering the agenda at the top of this meeting. Good evening, folks. My comments tonight are my reported activities for the month of March of this year, beginning with March the 1st. Attended the State of the Schools at Citrus College. It was a report of by the superintendent of Citrus, President Superintendent Greg Schultz, followed by the superintendent for Glendora Unified School District and for Covina Unified School District. On March the 6th, participated in the Community Services Foundation fundraiser, which was a golf tournament at Glen Oaks. I will not report what the results were on my team. On March the 10th, we attended, yourself and myself, Madam Chair, the Library Staff Development Day at Bidwell Forum. On the 13th was the Glendora Coordinating Council public meeting. On March 15th, I attended the the Los Angeles Business Journal Corporate Citizenship Awards for corporations and for nonprofits. On March the 17th was Community Day at Citrus College. We reviewed the dental program, had tours of architecture, the nursing program, and then had a presentation by Water Technology and Construction Management. This past weekend on the 18th was the Culture Fest held in front of Glendora Public Library on Glendora Avenue. Yesterday, the 19th, was Citrus Union High School's reunion, and we represented the Glendora Public Library and the Citrus Foundation. And tonight, happening now at the Bidwell Forum, is the Glendora Historical Society's meeting, and I attended the first half hour before we raced over here for this meeting. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Very thorough and very busy. Would anybody else like to add anything?
I will. We
Thank you,
attended
Trustee Toland.
Glendora Public Library Friends Foundation grant process last Thursday at Bidwell Forum. Carrie and I both attended on behalf of the board, where we went through the new grants being asked for by the Glendora Public Library. So it was a good meeting. Yep. And thank you again, as always, to the Glendora Public Library Friends Foundation for their support. That's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Chu?
Last Thursday, Erica and I went to the Teen Idea Lab to see the students who have been working really hard throughout the year on various STEM related projects with Miss Marcy. Miss Marcy has done a great job leading that initiative and really teaching these kids like skills that they will motivate them to explore different fields as they go on in school. And I was just blown away by like their curiosity and how intelligent and smart they were in terms of like explaining how things happen and their hypotheses about what works and what doesn't work and why they think that is so. But yeah, they were awesome.
Thank you. Vice President Johnson, did you want to add anything?
I too took part in the double meetings on Thursday, so the grant process was informative, and I was glad that we could support Glendora Public Library and the Friends Foundation in making their decisions. And then the Idea Lab was truly impressive with all of the great curriculum and techniques that Miss Marcy is using with the kids. They're so passionate, and it's definitely like a centerpiece in their lives as families. It's like something that they really look forward to, and it's giving them so much. It's so rich. So I was very, very impressed. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And then I just wanted to add, okay, yes, I went to the Teen Idea Lab. I heard all about color changing slime. That is my nemesis as a parent and a teacher. So, had some slime in somebody's hair, it didn't color change, but anyway, so, okay, but that was cool. And then the like motorized marker, it was, and it was, the most impressive thing I found was how it gave the students a confidence because their knowledge was so deep and specialized and specific in certain experiments. So that was great. And thank you, Friends Foundation, for providing the funding for that. And it's a program that meets once a month. I guess this was the last meeting. I don't know when the signups are for next school year. Do you know? Okay. Thanks, Cindy.
So it meets the third Thursday of every month at 3:30 in the Friends Room. There are no registration requirements. You can stop by anytime. It is open for students 10 and up. And we will have meetings during the summer. This last one just wound up the school year. So we will be continuing meetings during the Summer Discovery Challenge in June and July.
Perfect. They even had a forensic candy scene, and then they tried to, it was great. They matched teeth marks and everything on a styrofoam cup. So yes, I went to Culture Fest. I got to be near the giant globe, walked around with Trustee Flowers, and so that was fun. We also, Trustee Flowers and I, we both also attended the Taste of the Foothills Cuisine, which was awesome. Okay. So one important thing I just want to add. So on Memorial Day over at Fairmount Cemetery, there will be the Memorial Day service. And if you haven't had an opportunity to attend, I highly recommend it. It should start at 11, but I think what's the early, like it opens at 10? 10. Okay. And if you have never been there, that's quite a really interesting cemetery to check out the history. So, okay, thank you so much. I would like to go to the reports of the library director and library divisions. I would like to invite Library Director Janet Stone to report.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I think this is one of those evenings when my cheeks are going to be tired from smiling because that was just so wonderful. All of that young energy and creativity and volunteerism. Yeah, so I'll do something about that when I get home because my cheeks are already tired. Anyway, so I do have some updates to the report that is in your packet and is available to the public online. I'll do some of them in chronological order, but first I'll talk about the statistics summary that accompanies the written report, just to pull that out. Just really a couple of things that I wanted to highlight about that. First of all, the library document station, you'll notice that as customers get more and more familiar with that, it's seeing more and more use. Just interesting that that one of our connections we offer for the public really is still that need for technology. And also interesting impact of Earth Day shifting to Fink Minor Park, where it was a huge success. You'll see some shift in, for example, our total meeting room attendance, because when we shift our programs, which are also included in that attendance of our meeting rooms, when we shift those off-site, you'll see that reflected in the statistics. And also that's generally true of the on-site programs and attendance overall for the library, because they shift to off-site attendance. So I think overall that's a wonderful thing. Earth Day itself was particularly successful in the park, but all the programs that we can take out into the community where the public is, though that's a wonderful feature. So those are just a couple things about the statistics I wanted to point out. And then on to a few updates since the packet was put together for you. First of all, starting on May 10th, already mentioned, we had Staff Development Day. And because I want to thank the public for their understanding when we closed the building for the day, that just tell a little bit about what Staff Development Day is all about. We began with a breakfast sponsored by the Glendora Public Library Friends Foundation. Cheers and thank you for that. And also, as already mentioned, attended by President Landman and Trustee Flowers. And then the staff walked over to Parts East, so to speak, to get some tours of the Lefebvre Center, Fink Minor Park facilities, transportation, and we even did a surprise drop-in at the ranger station to get an idea of what services were offered there. And cheers to the staff in all of those areas. They gave us some great insights into how we can refer customers to them successfully, how we can cooperate, what services they offer, and that sort of thing. After lunch, we did some team building. We had a review of the libraries, of how to successfully enforce the library's behavior policy, and then did some brainstorming about the building in case, we as it is undergoing repairs sometime in the future, we may need to vacate for a while. And this is something we've been working with the staff on for across many, many months, and we will continue to do so. And one of the really interesting ideas that came from that, even if we don't use it, I love the idea that we have such creativity ready to go, was this idea of you've heard about bookmobiles and techmobiles and that sort of thing. Well, this one was a library mobile, but instead of being something that you visit on the inside, it was a way to transport services to other areas around the city, unpack it, create like an outdoor pop-up library for a while, pack it all back up, and then have it go somewhere else. And I thought that was a really creative way of looking at library services if we can't be in our brick and mortar structure for a while. So that was part of Staff Development Day. Again, thank you to the public for understanding why we needed to get together and do some of that. A few days later, on May 14th, I am pleased to report that the Glendora City Council appointed 2 applicants to fill vacancies on the Board of Library Trustees. One of them is our own returning Erica Landman, and another is going to be Mary Ann Cintron. She will be, of course, introduce her in more depth as she comes on board, but she's the president and founder of Step by Step Dyslexic Solutions. She's been in education for 25 years. She has her doctorate in education, leadership, and administration, and has a lot of knowledge in literacy from preschool to adulthood. So we'll be obviously learning more about future trustee Cintron, and we'll be talking about the orientation process as we always do when there is one in the June meeting. So hurrah for that. Let's see. It's been a packed couple of weeks, just the last couple of weeks. So May 16th, already mentioned, was the grants meeting with the Glendora Public Library Friends Foundation. When we submit grants, we look at the whole pool of money between the foundation and the city, and we look at the best ways to leverage the resources that each funding body has. And we love that the Glendora Public Library Friends Foundation is so willing to discuss that with us and brainstorm and just negotiate the best ways to do that. So when we submit our requests, it has to do with sort of the scope of the target community we're trying to reach, the things we know the donors are interested in and the ways the foundation story tells, trends in library usage, and then also sort of some transformative potential of the grants, either short-term or long-term, depending on the grant. Because that process is still underway, I won't go into great detail about the grants because, like I said, they were proposals, right, that had been submitted, but they include everything from like demonstrating augmented reality to the public, to installing some upgraded computers, to celebrating National Library Week and Month, some special events for preserving Glendora's family history, a way of centralizing some volunteer opportunities in the city and that sort of thing. So the wide variety of proposals that were made, and those are just some of the big descriptions. So again, really, really grateful to the foundation for ongoing discussion about those. And we look forward to reporting back about which ones get funded. Let's see here. A couple days later, as you've also already heard, the Culture Fest, just this last weekend, Cindy Romero, Tino Finocchiaro, and Marcy Enriquez were all on site that day. So cheers to them for their roles in making Culture Fest happen. Thank you, President Landman and Trustee Flowers, for being there. I don't know if anybody else was. They were the ones I spotted that day. It was truly a citywide effort, and to really make sure that it's known that our global culture is a thing to be celebrated, and the event did that, I thought, really beautifully. And I just want to give a shout out to Recreation and Human Services Annie Warner, who was like superwoman in terms of this event. She really was the glue that bound the whole thing together. So hats off to everyone, and especially to you, Annie, for that. And finally, the police department will be in very, very good hands, and that it has been in very good hands. And I just want to say goodbye here at our meeting to Chief of Police Matt Egan, this is his last week as he retires after over 30 years of service, and the police department is always of such great support to the library, and he has been no exception. And it's just been an honor to work with you, and you've done some great succession planning, and we look forward to the future. But it's a little bittersweet. So I am happy to answer any questions about any of those things or anything I didn't think of.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments? I just have a couple of things. So the Family History Project grant request, that looks outstanding. I was really excited to see that, as well as the grant exploration backpack idea. That's so cool. So does that mean it's like you check out the backpack and there's stuff inside and then you have to return it, or do you just take the backpack and?
Yeah, those are, what in the library biz they call circulating materials. So they get checked out and they get returned. Absolutely. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And then I had a question about the preschool outreach. Is that a new program or an established
That's an
program?
established one. Yes,
Okay. All right.
absolutely.
It hadn't been marked. Neither box was marked. So I got,
okay.
I'm off. So anyway, okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for
Absolutely.
clarifying. Okay. So I'd like to move on to the interim financial reports. Let's see. Wait, we did that. I already did that. Yeah. Well, did I? Did I? Okay. All right. Yeah.
Oh,
Interim financial
I get the
reports,
clicker.
revenues, grants, funds. So I'd like to invite Library Director Janet Stone to report. Sorry.
So actually, as demonstrated by the clicker handoff,
Clicker, yeah.
I'm going to turn over the microphone to Management Analyst Elke Keffel.
We'll see if I can handle the clicker and talk at the same time. I don't know about that. Might be a challenge. It's good to see you all again. It's been a fun evening so far. So hopefully I can continue with these interim financial reports because that's awesome. It's lots of fun as well. So I will be talking about the interim budget reports, the revenues and grants. Those are the only two reports that we have not talked about yet. Let me see if I can. All right, excellent. Whew, I'm very excited. This is a good start. Just some background information. So in January of this year, we submitted the mid-year review of the fiscal year 23-24 budget information to Administrative Services. Included in that mid-year review were fiscal components for the current fiscal budget year. We did not update the narrative, although it was just strictly numbers. The mid-year review was presented to City Council in April of 2024. All right, next slide. Awesome, this is good. In May of 2024, we started our budget process for the mid-cycle budget for the fiscal year 24-25. We did submit several new proposals, pretty exciting. So those include the digitization of non-official city documents, National Library Week celebratory events, leadership and development in association and conferences, and additional support for our public relations and marketing. So those are just a few of the ones that we submitted to be considered by city administration. So this mid-cycle budget is going to be anticipated to be presented to the City Council at the first meeting in June. All right, so this evening, as I kind of already talked about, we are catching up with current fiscal year reporting. We did report on the expenditures, goals, and objectives in previous meetings starting earlier in the calendar year. So the grant report, that was actually impacted by a different adjustment approach that we had this fiscal year. And the revenue reports were impacted by transfers from the old finance system to the new finance system, which kind of delayed reporting just a little bit. But we've been working with finance and they have been absolutely fantastic. So thank you to the finance department. I know they've been super busy with all of this. So in general, when you look at the report, it looks different from years past, what you've seen probably. If you look at the report, the column is called CY revised budget, that actually reflects our approved mid-year adjustments. And it is highlighted on your report, so to kind of make it stand out a little bit more. So as already mentioned many times now, the city is using a new enterprise resource planning system, and it's called Tyler. And when you look at these reports, the revenue shows actually as negative values and the expenditures are shown as positive values. I don't know if that's how it's going to remain, but right now that's how the reports are looking. So some other things to note, when you look at the administration line item, when we originally looked at the budget for this fiscal year, we added some numbers as placeholders, and the numbers that we used were actually numbers that included expenditures for the 50th and 140 celebration from the previous fiscal year. So with the updated grant funding, we actually zeroed out that entire division. When you look at the report, it looks a little strange because it shows zero in that administration line item, but that is correct. Oh, did I already forward the slide? Sorry, my mistake. Got too excited there with the slide here. Clicker, got too excited. So if you look at the support services line item, that's actually where our mobile shelving expenditure is reflected. And you did see that we did not spend all of it, but we did spend a good portion of that. And something that is not reflected on this particular report, of course, is one of our major expenditures, which is for our Summer Discovery Challenge. Some things have already been expended, but the major expenditures are not going to come until May and June because that's really when the program is starting. And so we're going to start to see all those invoices come in. So for our revenues, if you look at the Bidwell Forum rental line item, last fiscal year, so 22-23, we had several private party reservations, which people do have to pay for those. And that's kind of what we took into account when we estimated our revenues for this fiscal year. And unfortunately, we have not had as many. So we did adjust our revenue for biddable foreign rentals downward accordingly. But of course, we are always looking at increasing the visibility for our facility rentals, and we are working with the staff to kind of get the word out to let people know that biddable form is another opportunity for them if they're looking for something in the city. If you look at our library fees revenues, so of course, that reflects us going fine-free in July of 2023. So there, we did expect a reduction. The original budget that we had was higher, and okay, so it's kind of it's difficult to explain. So we estimated the revenue to be at a certain amount, and we came in well below that. And so we are trying to look at why that is. I mean, when we usually look at our revenues, we look at a lot of different things and make sure that we are as accurate as we can be. And in this case, somehow our initial estimate was too high. And so we're just trying to figure out what caused that so that we can be more, we can budget more appropriately in future years. So that's something that the staff is still looking at. Unfortunately, we don't have any answers on that yet. And that completes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Does anybody have any questions?
Just out of curiosity, how do you guys advertise rentals for the Bidwell Forum?
So of course we have a lot of our information is on the library website. And then actually, you know, the application, the policy, all those things are on there. We just recently actually, the information was added to the community services brochure, which I'm really excited about that we were able to work that out. So when you look at the community services brochure and it lists all the rentals available in the city, Bidwell Forum is actually listed on there.
Okay. Is it listed on the city website too? With like the other facilities?
I don't believe so. So the city is going through a website redesign, and that is actually something that they're looking at. Because we had, I had started talking to, or I was planning to talk to the senior digital media specialist to kind of make sure that we spruce up the information and you know, and but that I put that on hold because I found out that the city is actually trying to redo that whole everything, and they're going to include our rentals as part of all of the cities. So hopefully we'll get more views that way as well. But yeah, if you have any other ideas, I mean, we're always looking. We're always trying to get the word out and trying to let customers know what's available to them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did anybody else have any comments or questions? Thank you so much, Elke.
Who gets the clicker?
For special item number 6, this is an update on the mid-cycle budget for fiscal year 2024 to 2025. I would like to invite Library Director Janet Stone to report.
Thank you very much. So I am joined here by City Manager Adam Raymond. We're going to tag team this a little bit. We are bringing you just a bit of an update for the fiscal year 24-25 budget, which is known as the mid-cycle budget because it is the second year of a 2-year budget. And as the second year of a 2-year budget, it was adopted as a tentative budget back in June of 2023 when the current year budget was adopted. Okay, so that's just a recap of where we are. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Adam.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. We're going to test your eyesight this evening. And while the budget may not be a banned book, it's definitely a sleep aid. So we will get underway here. The good news is in all of these columns, if you look in the middle under adopted 24-25, you can see it on your screen. We are projecting, again, this is the city's discretionary funding outside of some of the funds that Elke just talked about. This is how revenue comes in, mostly funded by taxes. So the good news is when we did these projections 2 years ago, largely we're in line with those. If anything, both sales tax and property tax are a little better than anticipated. All of the other revenues are about on par with where we were at. If you go down to the expenditure line, you'll see that expenditures are a little higher than what we had anticipated previously. Largely, that relates to salaries and benefits. So the city, through its various bargaining units and MOUs, are all coming up in and around the next 6 to 18 months. And so we anticipate some increases in employee compensation in that regard. To what extent, we don't know. We'll go through that process. But I think as everyone around this meeting knows, all of you have been touched with increases in insurance and gas prices and inflation in general. The city's hit with those, and so are our employees as well. So looking to make some meaningful progress on that end. The good news here, and we'll talk about it, really is that no major changes from what we anticipated. The economy is still growing. It's growing at a much slower pace than it was previously, but we're still moving in the right direction as we keep our eye on expenditures. Really, the bigger ones are the capital projects, where those costs have just continued to exceed any sort of CPI. In fact, if you look historically at construction CPI, something this group knows very well is it's averaged about double what CPI's average over the past 20 years. So definitely something that eats into our available money to spend on projects, not just for the library, but for the city as well. And if you go next, so sorry, they gave me the power of the clicker. It's probably a bad thing. Measure E. So in this slide before you shows we're still anticipating about $9 million in Measure E. For clarity, when Measure E was first thought of, we thought we were going to get 5 million, and then as it got closer, we thought we were going to get 5.5 and maybe 6. And really, driven by a lot of it is inflation, the prices of gas, and just the amount of online shopping that Glendorans do. It's really stayed in the mid to high 8s and now into the low $9 million range. And really, some of the discretionary capital projects for the library, our parks, most recently in Fink Minor, we've seen a tremendous amount of Measure E funding go to pay for those quality of life services and capital projects, help fund some of the assessments that we had on the library as well for the structural integrity. So Measure E really continues to be the engine that keeps the city moving along without too much angst. And as we look towards the future, we still see the growth in Measure E revenues, but also the expenditure pull on that is continuing to increase as well. So definitely something that we'll keep our eye on as we develop our next 2-year spending plan. Next slide. So not to belabor the point, but the finance staff, and really it also goes hand in hand with the departments, really worked well together to come up with estimated revenues and expenditures that have really stayed on track. We've been really fortunate in that regard. Human behavior largely drives the majority of the revenue here in sales tax. So we got it right this time. Sometimes it does change. As this body knows, we are currently doing some assessments for both a library and citywide parcel tax measure to see what the public can or will support. Tied to that, though, in November, we have 3 separate ballot measures, potentially 2, depending if the state of California Supreme Court decides a ballot won't make it, that really will provide us with the landscape in how we need to move forward with some sort of facility measure. I think suffice to say, this group has really made it clear to the city council, and the city council has acknowledged that with some of the structural and facility needs in the library, a major project is needed. It's how we fund that major project that becomes the determining factor here. We anticipate having some top line survey results we can share with this body in the city council and city at large here in the next month. And so we look forward to sharing those results with you. And hopefully with those can provide some sort of insight into what the next steps may be. So as we better understand, or as the future of public finance for bond measures becomes clearer, we will have a much better idea on how to use the information that is presented to us. And I'm sure, as always, Janet will have more questions than I have answers on all of that. and we'll be happy to share with all of you what those are. So I will turn it back over to Janet as we move forward.
Thank you. Uh, so pulling this into the library specifically, you've heard a little bit of this from Elke already. Because there was, a tentative approval of this budget last year. Basically, at mid-cycle, we do a little bit of updating. And so these are just some of the highlights of the updating that we have suggested to the city, requested of the city. These are still pending, so we'll see where they go. But again, sort of that centralized volunteer opportunity platform is one of them. Digitization of the popular city documents, and by popular, we mean the things that do not require a council action or a signature on them. Community data collection assistance, this idea that we could use some help with our surveying of the community and are looking at the possibility of contracting for a graduate studio to help us with that. Increased expertise on our staff. We've made some proposals regarding leadership development, learning and learning. And then also redeploying our staff time. What that means is that there's some processes that we do in-house that we can actually have our vendors do. And this is not a matter of like cutting down on staff. It's of freeing the staff's time so they can do things that have to do with Glendora specifically, where their expertise lies, and they are not doing routine things that could be done by, like I said, by any of our paid vendors. So we're looking into the most effective way of using that staff time. And then finally, we're also looking into ways of getting us some marketing and public relations assistance. So those are like I said, there's some of the highlights of the things that we're looking at here at the mid-cycle budget. We'll see where they go. There's obviously a lot of competing demand for city funding. So we are happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go to the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar will be enacted by one motion without individual discussion unless a trustee has requested to be removed for separate discussion. Does anyone wish to pull or comment on any consent calendar item? Okay, thank you. I'd like to request a motion in a second.
Okay, I have a motion made by trustee Flowers and seconded by trustee Chu. I will now conduct an oral roll call. Trustee Chu?
Aye.
Trustee Flowers?
Aye.
Trustee Tolan?
Aye.
Vice President Johnson?
Aye.
President Landman?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. I'll go to new business number 9, self-evaluation of the Board of Library Trustees for fiscal year 2023 to 24. So it says read title into the record. So like self-evaluation okay, all right. Self-evaluation of the Board of Trustees for fiscal year 2023-24. I'd like to invite Library Services Director Janet Stone to report.
Thank you very much. Okay, so welcome to this annual ritual. There's always this opportunity each year for the Board of Library Trustees to conduct a self-evaluation. And usually in April, it's an agenda item that gives you the chance to revisit the procedure before the actual evaluation begins. In case there's anything you want to change about how you undergo the evaluation, or in some cases, if you want to undergo it. With the cancellation of the April meeting this year, we're beginning in May. So a little bit of background here. Starting in 2018, written self-evaluations were provided to the recording secretary. Basically, that's me. They were then added unchanged into the board packet and then discussed and documented in the minutes. That's how the self-evaluations were documented and discussed. So in April 2022, the process evolved a little bit, and the process that was approved included using the goals as a guideline. That's the board's goals as a guideline, and then the board then to respond to the items on the goals list. And the director was instructed to email those instructions with the mission statement, a deadline, and the goals within 1 week of the meeting where this was decided, and then to aggregate and to present the results at the June meeting. That's how it worked in April a couple of years ago. So when the process was discussed last year in April, among the topics that were brought up included settling on one format that everyone follows, not just really sending out the goals, but actually sending out a form for them so that there's ease of comparison from one self-evaluation to the next. And that was basically the major topic of discussion last year. So just to outline, when this process begins in April, there have been for the last couple of years 2 months to submit and compile so that the discussion can happen at the June meeting. So that's how it has happened when we begin a little bit earlier. And so what we are just recommending tonight is that you all review that information and amongst yourselves, as led by the president, discuss whatever next steps you want to take or not want to take. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions or comments or concerns? Trustee Flowers?
Thank you, ma'am. With consideration that we missed the April meeting, instead of waiting the 2 months, especially with the next item on the agenda, I would strongly urge that we do this in time for next month, which is 1 month's time for the self-evaluations. Or else we'll have to wait till likely September, depending on how the vote goes on the next item.
Does anybody have any thoughts?
That's fine with me.
Okay, and then also then we get an opportunity to see Trustee Flowers' comments.
Correct.
Yes, because he is moving on after this term. So thank you. So like to request a motion in a second.
Motion made by Trustee Flowers, seconded by President Landman. I will now conduct oral roll call. Trustee Chu?
Aye.
Trustee Flowers?
Aye.
Trustee Tolan?
Aye.
Vice President Johnson?
Aye.
President Landman?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you. New business item number 10. Discuss the cancellation of regular library board of trustee meetings for the 2024 summer season. I would like to invite Library Services Director Janet Stone to report.
Thank you once again. And once again, this is an annual ritual with a little bit of a wrinkle this time around. So often when we are approaching the summer season, we come to you with this discussion. Last year, the Board of Library Trustees voted to cancel the July meeting. Just as a reminder that in the municipal code, it says that the city council will not hold meetings the second half of July and in the first half of August. So that's like the citywide environment that we find ourselves in. For this current year, this summer, as usual, one of the reasons that the city council takes that position and that we come to you each year is that there are anticipated vacations on behalf of not only the library staff, but also the city clerk staff, the public, and all sorts of other officials in the city. So that's generally why this happens each year. And then this is the wrinkle for this year. So additionally, for fiscal year, for calendar year 2024, the summertime, we are anticipating a council chamber upgrade. And that will displace trustee meetings in July and in August. So just so you know, in July and August, typically, some of the things we talk about are the election of officers of the board, the appointment of the Friends Foundation liaisons, library board goal planning, wrap up of library goals, the metrics and the budget for the prior fiscal year, depending on how much of those data are available in each of those months. Sometimes it's not available right away. And then introduction of new trustees, and also a check-in on their orientation when we have new trustees and have that process underway. So that's generally what happens in July and August if we met all the way through the summer. So the items can be covered in the months that follow as needed. For example, in 2022, there were no trustee meetings in July and August, and we simply reconvened in September. If items require immediate action in the meantime, a special meeting may be called. So our recommendation this evening is that in July or in August, that the Board of, or either could be one or the other or both, that the Board of Library Trustees not hold a meeting and that you provide direction to the staff accordingly. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
So in August, there's going to be a remodeling of the council chambers, and so
July and August.
July and August, is it expected to end in August or go any further? Yes, in best case. So I was, it should be okay.
That's after the third Monday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, that's
my
why-
question is, they're not anticipating it to go into September.
Oh, not according to any of the dates that have been provided so far.
No. Is it like complex construction or?
I don't have any of those details. I don't know if the deputy city clerk can speak to that topic. I don't know.
I don't have that much information
Okay.
available, but I know that they are doing upgrades with the system. That's as far as I know.
Okay, so then if something happens this September, you'd let us know.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Oh, okay. Here's somebody.
I can answer those questions. We're going to do a technology upgrade, both in the room and in the back end where Craig's office is. And then if we can, within the time frame, we might do carpet, paint, do kind of a cosmetic upgrade, but I don't have an update on the cosmetics yet. But definitely the technology upgrade. And that will happen within the time frame.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
And that was Greg Morton of the city's digital media team. For those of you who don't know the celebrity.
And he knows
Mhm.
intel. Did anybody else have any comments or questions? Trustee Toland?
I recommend canceling July and August and reconvening in September. There's a lot going on. Give them time.
And I also have one other question too. Last summer, we had to cancel because of Juneteenth. Will Juneteenth be recognized on Juneteenth, or will it be like on a Monday or a different day? Do you know?
So actually, last summer, the June meeting was canceled for lack of quorum. That's why it was canceled.
I know the answer.
Okay, thanks.
Juneteenth is celebrated on Juneteenth, and it's a Wednesday this year.
Okay, all right, good. I wanted to confirm that it wasn't on the Monday.
No.
Okay, great. Thanks.
So there is a motion on the table made by trustee Tolan. And I have a motion made by you had made the motion. No worries, I'll correct it. Okay, so a motion made by trustee Tolan and seconded by President Landman. And now I will conduct a roll call. Trustee Chu?
Aye.
Trustee Flowers?
Abstain.
Trustee Tolan? Vice President Johnson?
Aye.
President Landman?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0 with one abstained.
Okay, thank you. Would like to invite any trustees and staff who are interested in giving closing comments.
I have a quick one.
Thank
If
you.
I may, I would like to apologize for not being here at April's meeting and missing that and the kids that showed up. And I'm so glad that they showed up tonight, but I'm sincerely sorry that I missed it and we didn't have a quorum.
Thank you, Trustee Toland. You were missed. But glad to see you tonight. Anybody else have any comments? Director Stone?
Yes, this may be the thing, the relief that my cheeks need, because it's again a bittersweet thing. I just want to acknowledge that we talked about our incoming trustee, and the fact that there is an incoming trustee does indeed mean that we have an outgoing trustee, as already been mentioned. So there will be more, but I didn't want to go that the evening to go past without without acknowledging that you are on your way to your next chapter, and that we're very grateful, and that we'll make sure that we talk more about that in the future. But I also just wanted to acknowledge it tonight.
Thank you for that. I will have a 10-page speech for next month.
I look forward to it.
Okay, so you'll be here next month? Great. Okay, awesome. Right. And your birthday is next month. Yeah, okay, all right. Okay, anybody else have any comments? Anything? Okay, thank you so much, everybody. I'd like to adjourn tonight's meeting at 8:16 p.m.